Good afternoon, and welcome to RG Productions' performance of A Christmas Carol. We are thrilled to have you here this afternoon. My name is Nita Hunter. I'm the director of today's show. And one thing that we'd like to mention is that we've been highlighting Orson Welles and his productions all year long. It's been quite the year for us. We started off with his 102nd birthday in May, and we performed one show that's rarely ever heard and was never actually a radio play, but it was Welles's favorite movie, although butchered, and it was The Magnificent Ambersons. Then in the summer, we went over to the Kenosha History Center and performed Orson Welles' Treasure Island. That was a great deal of fun. And so we are delighted, as always, to close off our year with a heartwarming story. Today's performance was part of the Campbell Playhouse production that Orson Welles and people who would later belong to the Mercury Theater were involved with. And today's production aired on December 24th, 1938, and it was a rare moment when Welles gave the spotlight over to someone else, and the most beloved iconic actor of the day was Lionel Barrymore. Lionel Barrymore starred in A Christmas Carol for several years, so we're delighted to bring this show back to you. And I do have someone here to introduce the play, Jessica Mickna from Historical First Impressions, and give you a little bit of background about Charles Dickens and his story, A Christmas Carol. Will you please welcome Jessica Mickna?
A very good afternoon to you. My name is Catherine Hogarth Dickens, otherwise known as Mrs. Charles Dickens. I am privileged today to be here to introduce this marvelous troupe of players. I know that if Charles were here this afternoon, he would be most pleased to join them in this wonderful production. Charles wrote A Christmas Carol in October of 1843. At that time, I must admit to you that our family was somewhat in a financial embarrassment. After all, with 10 children to look after, money was always a difficult subject for Charles. But he had great success with many of his Christmas stories. But to this very day, many years later, it seems that A Christmas Carol has won the hearts of the world over and over again. I have with me today an original manuscript penned by Mr. Dickens himself. That manuscript would find its way to America in 1892, when a fellow by the name of J.P. Morgan would purchase the manuscript at a London auction. However, since then, that manuscript has been returned to its rightful place in the main London Library, secure in the archives, I can tell you, very secure. But it is a great privilege today that we welcome this wonderful story of redemption penned by Mr. Charles Dickens. There, however, was a difficulty with this little story. You see, at that time, there were some publishing houses in the United States who would not pay the royalties to Mr. Dickens, but would illegally print his work. And when Mr. Dickens was alerted to this situation, he immediately took it in hand, suing one particular company in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He won the case and gained quite a bit of money as a result. But today, we shall go back in time into this wonderful story by my dearest husband, Mr. Charles Dickens. Thank you.
The makers of Campbell's Soup present the Campbell Playhouse, Orson Welles, producer. Good evening. This is Orson Welles. There are clearly a number of ways in which a Christmas carol could be introduced. Myself, I am most struck by the happy fortune that enables us on this Christmas Eve to present Mr. Lionel Barrymore, the best-loved actor of our time in the world's best-loved Christmas story, A Christmas Carol. When Charles Dickens presented this little story to the world almost 100 years ago, he found an instant response in the hearts of people everywhere who saw in it their favorite fictional chronicle of what Christmas is and what Christmas means to all the simple people of the earth. From the day of its first printing, families have been innumerable in which there has remained unbroken the tradition that the reading of A Christmas Carol was an item indispensable to a proper observance of this most important of days. Now, it is the American way, as we know, to establish traditions quickly where popular instinct and sentiment pronounce them sound. And so it is that today, actually only the 5th anniversary of Mr. Lionel Barrymore's first playing of the part of Ebenezer Scrooge for the Campbell Playhouse, there is, I think, in the All-America nothing more eagerly awaited, more firmly rooted in the hearts of the radio family that numbers millions than this yearly performance of A Christmas Carol. A Christmas Carol, as Charles Dickens wrote it, has by common consent long been a classic. Mr. Lionel Barrymore's appearance in it is rapidly becoming one. And now, just before A Christmas Carol, Ernest Chappell has a special Christmas greeting from the makers of Campbell Soups. Mr. Chappell.
Thank you, Orson Welles. As the old year draws toward its close, we of Campbell's feel a bond of warmth and gratitude toward each of you, our friends. For, you see, in homes everywhere throughout the land, Campbell's soups have been welcomed. Day by day, week by week, you have placed confidence in us and in the foods we make. And there isn't anything we appreciate more deeply than the fact that so many of you have elected to let Campbell's make your soups for you. And so when Christmas comes, we look about to find some way to show our appreciation, some Christmas present by which to say thank you. The gift we chose 5 Christmases ago and have chosen each year since has become a part of Christmas to many and many a family. It has become a Christmas custom, as Mr. Wells said, to gather around the radio to hear and to enjoy A Christmas Carol. And since it is Christmas Eve, we hope too that the younger members of the family are permitted to stay up and listen before dreams and visit of Santa. We get a great deal of pleasure planning and preparing this Christmas gift, and now it's ready.
Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled.
Off come the wrappings, off come the tags that say, please do not open till Christmas. Out comes the card to you from Campbell's, and here is the gift itself.
Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. The first Noel, the angels did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they
Marley was dead, to begin with. There's no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge's name was good upon change for anything he chose to put his hand to. Old Marley was dead as a doornail. Scrooge knew he was dead. Of course he did. Scrooge and Marley were partners for I don't know how many years. But he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, was Scrooge, a squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scrapping, clutching, covetous old sinner. And once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, on Christmas Eve,
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day.
old Scrooge sat busy in his counting house, a grim, cheerless place if ever there was one. The door of Scrooge's counting house was open that he might keep his eye upon his clerk, Bob Cratchit, who in a cold and dismal little cell beyond worked at his ledgers.
19, 20, 21, 22. You dismay. 23, 26, 29, 9, carry the 2. Christmas Day. 7, 13, 17, 7.
Bob Cratchit,
Yes, Mr. Scrooge?
stop that infernal caterwauling.
Yes, sir. 9, 15, 17, 23, 4.
Singing their idiotic Christmas carols at my very door. Go on! Get away from my door! Oh, go on, go somewhere else and bellow your blasted carols, or I'll give you what for.
Why, Governor? Why, Governor? It's an old custom at Christmas time, you know.
Yes, and I don't want any of your old customs. Take your fellow fools and go away. Christmas, bleh.
Right, sir. Merry Christmas anyway, sir.
Bah!
Good King Wenceslas went out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even.
Now, you get that letter from Higgins and Blackthorn, Cratchit, and then I want you to finish posting this ledger. And after that, you can pop over to Parthagil's and tell Ephraim Parthagil you've come after the 17 shillings 6 he's owed me since Michaelmas, and tell him I shall have a constable over there if he doesn't pay up at once.
Mr. Parthagil's wife has been ill, sir.
Oh, what do I care about his wife? I want my 17 and 6.
I just thought it being Christmas, sir.
Christmas. Christmas. You mention that word to me once more, Bob Cratchit, and I'll have your guts for garters. I am not kidding, sir. Your situation shall be gone if I...
A Merry Christmas, Uncle. A Merry Christmas, Bob.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Fred.
God save you, Uncle.
Bah, humbug.
Christmas a humbug, Uncle? Now, I'm sure you don't mean that.
I mean just that, exactly that. Merry Christmas. What right have you to be merry? What reason have you? You're poor enough.
Well, what right have you to be dismal about Christmas, Uncle? You're rich enough.
Bah.
Oh, no, Uncle. Don't be cross.
Well, what else can I be when I live in such a world of fools? What's Christmas to you but a time for paying bills without money? Merry Christmas. A time for finding yourself a year older and not an hour richer. If I could work my will, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips would be boiled with his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart. He should.
Uncle.
Now, nephew, keep Christmas in your own way and let me keep it in mine.
Keep it? But you don't keep it, Uncle.
Well, let me leave it alone then. What do you want? Christmas gift, no doubt.
I've come to wish you a Merry Christmas, Uncle.
A Merry Christmas. Much good may Christmas do you. Much good it has ever done you.
There are many things from which I derive good by, which I have not profited immediately or materially. I dare say, Uncle.
Bah, humbug.
Christmas among the rest. But I've always thought of Christmas time as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time.
Ah, humbug. Favorite word. I like it more than life.
And therefore, Uncle, though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe it has done me good and will do me good. And I say, God bless it.
God bless Christmas, hurrah!
Oh, thank you, dear Bob.
Let me hear another sound out of you there, Bob Cratchit, and you'll keep your Christmas by losing your situation. As to you, nephew, you're quite a speaker. I wonder you don't go into Parliament. You talk enough nonsense.
Oh, please, don't be angry, Uncle. I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Come to dinner with us tomorrow.
Why would I ever do that? Good afternoon to you.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. Well, I tried. A Merry Christmas to you, Uncle.
Good afternoon.
And a Happy New Year, too.
Good afternoon. Bah, humbug.
And a Merry Christmas to you, Bob. And to the missus. And to little Tiny Tim.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Fred. Same to you, sir. Good day, sir.
Good day, Bob.
Humbug. Nonsense. Twaddle. Flummery. Talking of Christmas and up to sixpence to jingle together in his trousers pocket. Hey, you there. Bob Cratchit, come here. What are you doing there?
I'm only putting a bit more coal in the fire, Mr. Scrooge, seeing as it's so cold in here.
You put that coal back into the scuttle. Fire indeed. I can tell you, if you use coal at that rate, you and I will soon be parting company, Bob Cratchit. You understand that? There's many a young fella like your situation, you know.
I'm sorry, sir. My fingers were getting a little stiff with the cold.
Then put on your mittens. There's someone at the door. Go on, see who it is.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
This is the firm of Scrooge and Marley.
Yes, sir.
I should like to see the head of the firm, if I might.
Oh, very good, sir.
What is it?
A gentleman to see you, Mr. Scrooge.
What?
Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?
Mr. Marley has been dead these 7 years. He died 7 years ago this very night.
Oh, well, I have no doubt his liberality is well represented by his surviving partner. Well, now, Mr. Scrooge, at this season of the year, it's only fitting that we who are more fortunate should raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink and means of warmth. You may not believe it, sir, but the many thousands are now in want of common necessities. And hundreds of thousands are in want of the simplest comforts.
Are there no prisons?
Well, there are plenty of prisons, sir. Too many are occupied in these times of desperation.
And the workhouses, huh? Are there still places that accommodate the lowest rung of society's ladder?
Oh, I wish I could say we could help people reach a higher rung, Mr. Scrooge.
In the treadmill and the poor law are in full vigor then?
Oh, both very busy, sir.
I'm glad to hear that. I was afraid from what you said at first that something had occurred to stop them in their useful course.
Oh, no, sir. All these institutions that you mention are flourishing, but it's nevertheless true that some additional provisions for the poor and the destitute be made.
Yeah, bah.
A few of us upon change are endeavoring to raise such a fund to buy the poor some meat for those who do not have and to give some cheer to those who are in such need. And, what shall I put you down for?
Nothing.
Oh, I see. You wish to remain anonymous, sir?
I wish to remain alone. I don't make merry myself at Christmas time, and I can't afford to help make a lot of idle people merry. I help to support the establishments that take care of the poor by staying in business and paying my taxes. Let those who are badly off go there.
Oh, well, many can't go there, sir, and many would rather die.
Then my advice to them, if they want to die, is to go and do so, and decrease the surplus population. Besides, I've only your word for it that all this is so.
Well, it's the truth, Mr. Scrooge.
Well, so be it then. It's not my business. It's enough for a man to understand his own business and not to interfere with other people's. Mine occupies me constantly. Good afternoon, sir.
I quite understand, Mr. Scrooge. Good afternoon.
Cratchit, show this gentleman out.
Yes, sir. This way, sir, if you please. Sir, I couldn't help overhearing. I should like to contribute tuppence.
Cratchit?
Yes, sir. It's not much, but it's all I can afford. But there are others in worse situations than I.
Oh, you're a generous fellow. I wish I might say so of your employer.
Cratchit?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Cratchit!
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yes, sir.
Close the door.
Yes, sir. 24, 31, 1 carry 3, a new scarlet tippet for Tiny Tim, a comb for Martha, 33, 3 carry 3, a hair ribbon for Belinda, 4, 7, 12. 12:15.
Cratchit,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
it's too late for you to go to Parthagil's. He'll be closed up for Christmas like these other fools. We may as well close up the place now.
Yes, sir. It is getting a little dark. Hard to see the figures.
I suppose you'll want the entire day tomorrow.
If it's quite convenient, sir.
It's not convenient, and it's not fair either. But I suppose I can't do anything about it, eh? If I was to stop half a crown of your wages, you'd think yourself very ill-used, I'll be bound.
Well, sir,
Yes, but you don't think me ill-used when I pay a day's wages for no work.
Well, it's only once a year, sir.
Once a year indeed. A fine excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. But I suppose there's no good talking. You must have the whole day. Well, see that you're here all the earlier the next morning. You understand?
Oh, I will, sir. I will indeed. And good night, sir. And Merry Christmas.
Humbug!
Merry Christmas.
Humbug!
The office was closed in a twinkling, and Bob Cratchit, with the long ends of his white comforter dangling below his waist, for he boasted no great coat, went down a slide on Cornhill 20 times in honor of its being Christmas Eve, and then ran home to Camden Town as hard as he could pelt to play with his family at Blind Man's Bluff. Scrooge, on the other hand, took his melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tavern. Having read all the newspapers and spent the rest of the evening with his banker's book, went to his dismal house. Darkness is cheap, and Scrooge liked it. The yard was so dark that even Scrooge, who knew its every stone, had to grope with his hands through the fog and the frost to find the door. Scrooge walked through his rooms to see that all was right. Sitting room, bedroom, lumber room, all as they should be. Nobody under the table, nobody under the sofa, nobody under the bed, nobody in the closet. Close the door.
Scrooge.
He locked himself in. He double-locked himself in and took off his cravat, put on his dressing gown and slippers and his nightcap, and sat down before the fire to take his gruel.
Who is it? Who's playing tricks? Marley? Marley? I could have sworn I saw it. No, humbug. Marley's been dead these 7 years. Humbug, all humbug. What I need is a good night's sleep. But what's that? Someone's in the wine cellar. The door's locked and double locked. Something's coming. Something is coming closer. Outside my door. But I won't believe it. It's humbug still.
Ebenezer Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge.
Marley? Oh no! What do you want with me?
I want much of you, Ebenezer.
Who are you?
Ask me who I was.
Oh, you're very particular for a ghost. All right, then. Who were you?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley.
Jacob Marley? But you're dead. You died 7 years ago.
7 years ago this very night.
Oh, but it can't be you.
What's wrong, Ebenezer? Don't you believe in me?
I do not.
You doubt your senses, Ebenezer?
Yes, because a little thing affects them. A slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheat. You can't be a ghost. You might be an undigested bit of beef or a blot of mustard, a crumb of cheese, a fragment of underdone potato. Yeah, there may be more gravy than grave about you, whatever you are. Humbug, I tell you. Humbug. I do believe in you. You are a ghost, Jacob.
Thank you.
Why? Why do you walk the earth, Jacob? Why do you come to me?
It is required of every man that the spirit within him should walk abroad among his fellow men and travel far and wide to witness what it cannot share, but might have shared on earth and turn to happiness.
Tell me, Jacob, what is that chain you wear around you?
I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link and yard by yard by my own free will. Is its pattern strange to you, Ebenezer?
Cash boxes, keys and padlocks, ledgers and purses.
Yes. Yours was as long and heavy as this 7 years ago. You have labored on it since, Ebenezer.
Oh, Jacob, speak comfort to me, Jacob.
Comfort I have none to give. I cannot rest, I cannot stay, I cannot linger. Weary juries lie before me.
You travel fast.
Yes, Ebenezer, on the wings of the wind.
7 years dead and traveling all the time.
7 years, Ebenezer. 7 years of remorse. Ebenezer, do you know that there are no space of regret you can amend to one's life opportunities misused?
But you are always a good man of business, Jacob.
Business. Mankind was my business. Charity, mercy, benevolence, they were all my business. The dealings of my trade were but a drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business.
Jacob, don't take on so now, Jacob.
Listen to me, Ebenezer.
I'll listen to you, Jacob. Go on, Jacob. Speak to me, but don't be so flowery.
Ebenezer, I'm here to warn you that you have yet a chance of hope to escape my fate. Do you hear that, Ebenezer?
Yes, Jacob, yes. You were always a good friend to me, Jacob. Thank you. But go on. How shall I escape? Oh, I'm afraid, Jacob.
You'll be haunted by 3 spirits.
Is that the only chance and hope, Jacob?
It's your only chance and hope.
Well, then I think I'd rather not.
Without these visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tomorrow when the bell tolls 1.
Couldn't I take them all at once and have it over with, Jacob?
Ebenezer, look that for your own sake you remember what has passed between us. Remember, when the bell tolls 1, look for the first spirit.
Molly. Jacob Marley!
Scrooge awoke. He was lying on his bed, fully dressed. Suddenly, the curtains of his bed were drawn aside, and Scrooge found himself face to face with the unearthly visitor who drew them, as close to it as I am now to you, and I am standing in a spirit at your elbow. It was a strange figure, like a child, yet not so like a child as like an old man. Its hair, which hung about its neck and down its back, was white as if with age, and yet the face had not a wrinkle in it, and a tenderest bloom was on the skin. The arms were long and muscular, the hands the same, as if its hold were of uncommon strength.
Ebenezer Scrooge.
Who's that?
Ebenezer Scrooge, I have come for you.
You? Are you the spirit, sir, whose coming was foretold me?
I am that spirit.
What are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past?
No, your past.
What do you want of me? What brings you here to haunt me?
Your welfare, Ebenezer Scrooge. Rise and walk with me.
Oh, no, not out the window. I can't do that. I'll fall. I'm not a spirit. I'm mortal. I'll fall.
Bear but a touch of my hand upon your heart, and you shall be upheld in more than this. Come, follow me.
Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day.
Where are we? What's become of the city? And there's snow upon the ground. Where are we?
These are the shadows of things that have been. Do you recognize this countryside?
Oh, I know every inch of it. Every rock, every tree.
And that bleak building over there.
Oh, that building. I was a boy there. Yes, I went to school in that horrible place.
Do you recollect that path?
I could walk it blindfold.
Strange you should have forgotten it so many years. Come, let's go closer. Look through that window into that cold, barren room. What do you see, Ebenezer Scrooge?
I see a boy.
A solitary child, neglected by his family, alone.
Yes, I see. I know that, but I was so lonely. Poor boy.
Your lip is trembling, Scrooge. And what is that upon your cheek?
It's nothing. Nothing at all. No, it's too late now.
What is the matter?
Nothing. It's The waifs came to my door singing Christmas carols last night, and there was a boy like that among them, a poor, pale, thin little boy in a ragged coat. I should like to have given him something, that's all.
Is that all? Come, Ebenezer Scrooge, let us see another Christmas.
Scrooge's former self grew larger at the words, and the schoolroom became a little darker and dirtier. As the boy walked up and down despairingly, Scrooge felt a pang in his heart and looked anxiously towards the door.
Ebenezer, dear brother.
Fan.
I come to bring you home, dear brother. Home, home, home.
Home, little Fan?
Yes, home forever and ever. Father is so much kinder than he used to be. That home's like heaven. He spoke to me so gently one dear night that I was not afraid to ask him once more if you might come home. And he said, yes, you should, and sent me in a coach to bring you. He's got you a situation in London, so you're never to see this awful place again. Oh, Ebenezer, we'll have the merriest Christmas in all the world.
You're quite a woman, little Fan.
Come on.
Always a delicate creature whom a breath might have withered, but she had a large heart.
So she had. I will not gainsay it, Spirit, God forbid.
She died a married woman and had, as I think, children.
One child.
Ah, true, your nephew.
Yes.
There is more for you to see. Do you know this place, Ebenezer Scrooge?
Know it? No, this is the counting house where I was apprenticed. It's my old master. Oh, bless his heart, old Fezziwig. My master lives again and hosting one of his Christmas parties.
Pick your partners.
Oh, listen to him.
The corkscrew. Thread the needle and back to your places.
Oh, and there's Dick Wilson. Oh, Dick, dear. Oh, and look, there's Mrs. Fezziwig herself, looking younger than any of them. And the table's all loaded with roast and cider, mince pie, and beer. Oh, what a jolly time we used to have.
That carefree young man with the light heart and the gay smile. Do you recognize him?
Oh, yes, merciful heaven. How happy I was then.
A small matter for old Fezziwig to make those silly folks so full of joy.
Small matter, small indeed.
Isn't it? He's only spent a few pounds of your mortal money. Is that so much that he deserves praise?
It's not that, Spirit. Old Fezziwig had the power to make us happy or unhappy, to make our service light or heavy. His power lies in words and looks and things so tiny it's impossible to count them up. The happiness he gives us is quite as great as if it cost a fortune.
What is the matter?
Nothing. Nothing at all, Spirit.
Something, I think.
No.
Speak!
Well, only it's just that I should like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk, Bob Cratchit, that's all.
My time grows short, and we have yet another journey to make.
Where now?
Come. This is our last visit to the past, Ebenezer Scrooge. Here in this little room with that fair young girl by your side. Do you recognize yourself, Ebenezer?
No. Spare me this.
You're older now, a man in the prime of your life. Your face has begun to wear the signs of care and avarice. Your eyes are greedy, the eager, restless eyes of a miser.
No, please.
She knows it too, that girl by your side. There are tears in her eyes.
It matters little to you, very little. I know that.
Well, have I changed toward you?
When we were engaged, we were both poor.
Was it better then? Better to be poor?
Better at least to be happy. You're changed. You were another man then.
I was a boy. You blame me because I've grown wiser. Have I ever tried to break our engagement?
In words? No, never.
Well, in what then?
In a changed nature, and in an altered spirit, in everything that made my love of any value in your sight. So I release you from your promise.
Belle.
Oh, at first it may cause you pain to lose me, a very brief pain, but soon it will be dim like a half-remembered dream, and an unprofitable dream, and you will be glad to be awake from such a dream. May you be happy in the life you have chosen.
That's enough. Show me no more. Take me home.
These are shadows of the things that have been. That they are what they are. Do not blame me.
No, no more.
One shadow more. Come. Do you see this man, Ebenezer Scrooge? This man might have been you, and the woman beside him your wife. And that girl might have been your daughter, Ebenezer Scrooge. She might have called you father. She might have been a springtime in the haggard winter of your life.
Spirit, let me go. Show me no more.
Listen now while they speak, Ebenezer.
Beryl, I saw an old friend of yours today.
Who was it?
Guess.
Oh, how can I? I know. Mr. Scrooge.
Mr. Scrooge it was. I passed his office window. It wasn't shuttered. And there was a candle inside, so I couldn't help but seeing him. His partner Marley lies at the point of death, I hear. And there Scrooge sat, all alone. Quite alone in the world, I do believe.
Spirit, I can't bear any more. Leave me. Haunt me no more. Take me back. Take me back.
Good King Wenceslas went out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even. Brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel, when a poor man came in sight, gathering winter fuel.
You are listening to the Campbell Playhouse, bringing you tonight the 5th annual presentation of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, produced by Orson Welles and starring Lionel Barrymore as Scrooge. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System. We have intermission coming up. Enjoy. Take time. And now back to the Campbell Playhouse and our 5th annual presentation of A Christmas Carol, present from the makers of Campbell's Soups. Good. On a stroke of one, Scrooge awakened and suddenly sat bolt upright in his own bed. He remembered the words of Marley's ghost and wondered from which direction the sound specter would appear. At that moment, nothing between a baby and a rhinoceros would have astonished him very much. Now, being prepared for almost anything, he was not by any means prepared for nothing, and consequently, when no shape appeared, he was taken with a violent fit of trembling. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a quarter of an hour went by, yet nothing came. Then, as he sat in his bed, he became aware gradually of a great blaze of ruddy light, which seemed to shine upon him from the adjoining room. He got up softly and shuffled in his slippers to the door. It was his own sitting room, no doubt about that, but it had undergone a surprising transformation. The walls and ceiling were so hung with living green that it looked a perfect grove, from every part of which bright gleaming berries glistened, and such a mighty blaze went roaring up the chimney as had never been known in Scrooge's time, or for many and many a winter season gone. Heaped up on the floor to form a kind of throne were turkeys, geese, game, poultry, great joints of meat, suckling pigs, long wreaths of sausages, mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red-hot chestnuts, and seething bowls of punch that made the chamber dim with their delicious steam. In easy state upon his couch there sat a jolly giant, glorious to see, who bore a glowing torch in shape not unlike Plenty's horn, and held it up, high up, to shed its light on Scrooge as he came peeping around the...
Come in, Ebenezer Scrooge, and know me better, man.
Who?
I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me. You've never seen the like of me before.
You're different from the other spirit. You're tall, almost a giant, and that great torch you carry.
Its light pours into the homes of rich and poor alike.
Spirit, take me where you will. Last time I went against my will and learned a lesson which is working now. If you have anything to teach me, let me profit by it.
Touch my robe, Ebenezer Scrooge. Touch my robe.
Where have you brought me, Spirit?
An humble dwelling in an humble street.
It's humble enough.
Yet there is happiness there.
Who are these people? Who's that woman? And the children?
These are the family of your clerk, Bob Cratchit. His wife dressed in twice-turned gown, but brave in ribbons, laying the table for their Christmas dinner. And there, assisting her, is her daughter Melinda, and the young man with the fork and the stuffing. That's Master Peter Cratchit, and the two little Cratchits. Listen, Scrooge.
All right, my dears. Now let's make ready for Martha. Oh, Peter, get away,
Here's
come
Martha,
away from
Mother.
the stuffing. Oh, Martha! Oh, why, bless your heart alive, Martha, my dear. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas, Mother.
Oh,
Merry Christmas.
Christmas. Oh, how late you are, my dear.
Oh, we did a deal of work to finish up last night, and we had to clear away this morning.
Oh, well, never mind so long as you're here now. Sit ye down before the fire and have a warm, Lord bless ye.
Where's Father?
He's been to church with Tiny Tim. They'll be along directly.
How is Tiny Tim, Mother? Any better at all?
Sometimes I think he is. And sometimes I think, oh, dear God, if anything should happen to Tiny Tim.
Oh, Mother, you mustn't even think of such a thing.
Here they are.
Oh,
Here they are.
there's Tiny Tim.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Martha, welcome, my dear.
Merry Christmas, Father. And Tim.
Merry Christmas, Martha.
Oh, Tim, you darling. Oh, Father, I'm so glad to be home.
And we're so glad to have you, Martha.
And how did little Tim behave in church, Bob?
Oh, as good as gold and better.
I love church, Mother. Oh, they sang the nicest songs. I hope people saw me there.
Saw you there? And why, Tim?
Well, don't you see? Because I'm lame. And if they saw my crutch, it might be pleasant for them to remember on Christmas who it was made lame beggars walk and blind men see.
Oh, bless you, my son.
We're ready to eat, Mother. We're hungry
All right,
now. Where's the
All right,
turkey?
yes, children, we're all ready now. Come and take your places now. And Bob, wait your turn. There's plenty. Come on now. Stuffing and dressing and plum pudding for all of you. Martha, you take care of Tiny Tim, will you?
Yes, Mother.
Sit down, sit down.
Oh, you see that he eats plenty. He must get tall and well. Now sit down, everyone. Sit down.
All right, and now, my dears, shall we say grace? Dear God, who makes us glad with the yearly remembrance of the birth of our only Lord Jesus
Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will live.
I see a vacant seat in the poor chimney corner without an owner. Carefully preserved.
No, kind Spirit. Say he'll be spared. Say he'll live.
If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die.
Spirit that liveth and reigneth, one God in glory everlasting. Amen.
Amen.
And now, my dears, with such a dinner, I say a toast. A Merry Christmas to us all, and God bless us.
Oh, amen.
God bless us, everyone.
And now to Mr. Scrooge. I give you a toast to Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast.
Oh, the founder of the feast indeed, who pays you all of 15 shillings a week. Oh, I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast on and hope he'd have a good appetite for it.
My dear, the children, Christmas Day.
Well, it should be Christmas Day, I'm sure, on which one drinks the health of such an odious, stingy, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. Oh, you know he is, Bob. Nobody knows it better than you, poor fellow.
My dear, Christmas Day.
I'll drink his health for your sake and the day's, not for his. Long life to him, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. He'll be very merry and very happy, I have no doubt.
And I say, God bless him too, Mother. And everyone.
Oh, well said, young man, well said.
Oh, come, all ye faithful,
joyful and triumphant. Oh, come ye to Bethlehem.
There was nothing of high marks in all this. They were not a handsome family, these Cratchits. They were not well dressed. Their shoes were far from being waterproof. Their clothes were scanty and had known very little the insides of a pawnbroker's. But they were happy, grateful, pleased with one another, and contented with the time. When at last they faded, Scrooge had his eye upon them, and especially on Tiny Tim until the last. Many calls Scrooge made that night with the ghost of Christmas present. Down among the miners they went, who labor in the bowels of the earth, and out to sea among the sailors at their watch. Dark, ghostly figures in their several stations.
Where are we now?
Of course. You've never bothered to visit this house, have you? But I dare say you know that laugh.
Fred, yes. Grates on the nerves, that laugh.
Nonsense! I know of no man more blessed in a laugh than your nephew. I'll attend.
He said that Christmas was a humbug, as I live, and he believed it too.
Oh, more shame for him, Fred.
Oh, he's a comical old fellow, that's the truth, and not so pleasant as he might be. However, his offenses carry their own punishment, and I have nothing to say against him.
I'm sure he's very rich, Fred. At least you always tell me so.
Well, what of that, my dear? His wealth is of no use to him.
Oh.
He don't do any good with it. He don't make himself comfortable with it. And it's highly doubtful that he'll ever benefit us with it.
Oh, I have no patience for him.
Oh, dear, I have. I'm sorry for him. My dear mother, his late sister loved him so that, for her sake, I couldn't be angry with him if I tried. And I won't hear a word against him from anyone else, even though I'm sure his ill manners have brought us such merriment. And therefore, as it would be ungrateful to us not to drink to his health, I raise a glass of mulled wine and I give you Uncle Scrooge.
Well, Uncle Scrooge.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to the old man. He wouldn't take it from me, but may he have it nevertheless.
I never realized.
Come along, Scrooge.
Oh, must we?
We must.
Much they saw and far they went, and many places they visited, but always with a happy end. The spirits stood beside sick beds, and they were cheerful. On foreign lands, and they were close at home. By poverty, and it was rich. In almhouse, hospital, and jail, where vain man, in his little brief authority, had not made fast the door, and barred the spirit out. The spirit left his blessing. It was a long night, if it was only a night. And it was a strange one, too, that while Scrooge remained unaltered in his outward form, the ghost grew older, clearly older.
My life upon this globe is very brief, Ebenezer. It ends tonight.
Tonight?
Tonight at midnight. Hark! The hour has come.
No, not yet. Not yet. There's still more things I would like to learn.
These you will learn from still another spirit. Still another spirit, Ebenezer.
Scrooge looked about him for the ghost. It had vanished, and he found himself once more in his bed, in his dressing gown and his nightcap on his head. He heard the clock strike, and then he remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley, and lifting up his eyes, beheld the third spirit. A solemn phantom shrouded in black, draped and hooded, coming towards him, slowly and silently, like a mist along the ground.
I know you. You are the ghost of Christmas yet to come. You'll show me the shadow of things that have not happened, but will happen in the time before us. Answer me, spirit, ghost of the future. I fear you more than any specter I've seen, yet I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to live to be another man from what I was. Lead on. Lead on. The night's waning fast, and time is precious. Spirit, why have you brought me here again? Why here to Bob Cratchit's home? It's not the same. Why is it so quiet? So very quiet here.
Mother, please.
Oh, my son, my little son, Tiny Tim. I loved him so.
Oh, Mother dear, you mustn't. It's almost time for Father to be home. Don't let him see you crying.
Yes, Martha.
He's late tonight.
He walks slower than he used to. And yet I've known him to walk very fast indeed, with Tiny Tim on his shoulder.
So have I, Mother.
But he was so light to carry, and his father loved him so that it was no trouble at all for him. Bob.
Good evening, my dear.
You're late, Bob.
Yes, I'm sorry, my dear. I went to the church today. Oh, I wish you could have gone with me. It would have done your heart good to see how sweet and green a place it is. But you'll see it often. I promised him. Yes, I promised Tiny Tim we'd walk there on a Sunday.
Father, dear.
It's God's will, Bob.
I've tried to understand it, my dear. Oh, my son. My little son, Tiny Tim. I loved him so.
Oh, that's cruel. That's cruel, Spirit. Can't you give me one ray of hope that I may change all that? That Tiny Tim might live. Where are you taking me now? Here, on a common street, Spirit. What is there for me to learn here? Who are these men?
Well, I don't know much about it either way. I only know he's dead.
When did he die?
Last night, I believe.
It's likely to be a very cheap funeral.
Yeah.
For upon my life, I don't know anybody to go to it.
Yeah.
Suppose we make up a party and volunteer.
Oh, yes, why not? I don't mind. If lunch is provided, eh?
Oh, well, come to think of it, I'll bet I was his best friend.
What?
We used to nod to each other when we met in the street.
Spirit, help me. Who is this man that died? Is there no one to mourn the poor creature? No one to follow him to the grave? But perhaps they'll give him a green grave at least, like poor Tiny Tim. Perhaps. Spirit, where are we now? Oh, merciful heaven, a churchyard. Overrun by grass and weeds, choked with too much burying, desolate, lonely, crumbling gravestones. Spirit, before I draw nearer to that gravestone, you answer me one question. Are these shadows of things that will be, or are they shadows of things that may be? Will you not speak to me, Spirit? What is that grave to which you pointing? Now I see it. There's writing on the stone. The name on the gravestone reads, Ebenezer Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge. No, Spirit, no, Spirit, hear me. I'm not the man I was. Why show me this if there's no hope at all? Tell me that I can change these dreadful shadows that you've shown me by an altered life. I'll honor Christmas in my heart. I'll try to keep it all the year. I'll live in the past, the present, and the future. I'll not shut out the lessons that they teach. Tell me, Spirit, oh please tell me. Tell me I can sponge away that writing on that stone, Spirit. I beg you, Spirit. I beg you. Spirit, I promise. I promise on my knees. I promise I'll... What's this? Oh, it's my own drape. Oh, I'm home. In my own bed. In my own room. And the sun. Oh, the sun is shining. It's clear and bright. No fog. Oh, what a beautiful day. Oh, glorious, glorious. Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Yes, sir?
What's today?
What's that, sir?
What day is it, my fine fellow?
Today? Why, it's Christmas Day.
Oh, Christmas Day! Then I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night. All in one night. Heaven be praised.
How's that, sir?
Listen, my lad. You know where the Poultry is, on the next street.
I should say I do.
Oh, an intelligent boy, a remarkable boy. Tell me, do you know if they sold the prize turkey that was hanging in the window?
The one as big as me?
What a delightful boy, yes. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Yes, my buck.
It's hanging there now, sir.
Oh, that's wonderful. Go down, will you? Tell him to send it to Bob Cratchit and his family on Broad Street. And mind you, they're not to know who paid for it. Go along now, hurry, my lad. Here, wait a minute. Here's half a crown for your trouble.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And a Merry Christmas, sir.
And a Merry Christmas to you, my boy. Oh, I don't know what to do. I'm light as a feather. I'm happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy. Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas to everyone. And, a happy New Year to all the world.
Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled.
My dear sir, how do you do?
I beg your pardon?
Well, you, sir, aren't you the gentleman who came to my office in regards to that charity?
Why, yes, sir.
Oh, a Merry Christmas to you.
Yes, sir.
Now, allow me to ask your pardon, sir, and will you have the goodness to accept it? I prefer to whisper this.
What? But Lord bless me, my dear Mr. Scrooge, are you serious?
Oh, if you please, now, not a farthing less. A great many back payments are included in it, I assure you. Will you do me that favor?
Well, my dear sir, I don't know what to say to such money.
Now, don't say anything, please. Come and see me, will you? Will you come and see me?
Yes, I will. I will indeed.
Thank you. I'm much obliged to you. I thank you 50 times. Bless you. Merry Christmas.
Scrooge went to church and walked about the streets and watched people hurrying to and fro and patted children on the head and questioned beggars and found that everything could yield him pleasure. In the afternoon, he turned his steps toward his nephew's house. He passed the door a dozen times before he had the courage to finally go up and knock.
Who is it? Yes?
Hello, Fred.
Oh, what? Why, bless my soul, who's that?
It is I, your Uncle Scrooge. I have come to dinner. Will you let me in, Fred?
Oh, yes.
Ding dong, early on high, in heaven the bells are ringing. Ding dong, early the sky is riven with angels singing.
Let him in. It is a mercy he didn't shake his arm off. Scrooge was at home in his nephew's home in 5 minutes. Wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful unanimity, wonderful happiness. Next morning, Scrooge was early at his office. He went early for a reason, if he could only be there first and catch Bob Cratchit coming late. That was the thing he'd set his heart upon. And he did it. Yes, he did. The clock struck 9. No Bob. A quarter past. No Bob. Scrooge sat with his door wide open that he might see him come in. At last he came. His hat was off. Before he opened the door, his comforter too. He was on his stool in a jiffy, driving away with his pen as if he were trying to overtake 9 o'clock.
15 and 21, 6, carry the 1, 24, carry the 2, 31 and 8 and 9.
Hello, Cratchit.
Yes, sir.
Step this way, Cratchit, if you please. Cratchit, what do you mean by coming in here at this time of day?
Oh, I'm very sorry, sir. I am behind my time.
Ah, you are. Yes, I think you are.
Oh, it's only once a year, Mr. Scrooge. It should not be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, my friend. I'll not stand this sort of thing any longer. And therefore, Bob Cratchit, I'm about to raise your salary.
Mr. Scrooge? Are you quite yourself, sir?
Oh, no, thank heavens, I'm not quite myself. Merry Christmas, Bob. Merry Christmas, my good fellow. A merrier Christmas than I've given you in many a year. I shall raise your salary, and we'll see what we can do for Tiny Tim and the rest of your family. We'll discuss it this very moon. Oh, over a Christmas bowl of smoking bishop. Bob, make up the fire. Make it up and buy another coal scuttle before you dot another I, Bob Cratchit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and infinitely more. To Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew, or any other good old city, town, or borough in the good old world. Some people laughed to see the alteration in him, but he let them laugh, and little heeded them. His own heart laughed. That was quite enough for him. He had no further encounter with spirits, but lived upon the total abstinence principle ever afterwards, and it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well, if any man alive possessed the knowledge. May that be truly said of us, of all of us, and so, as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, everyone.
God bless us, everyone.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing.
The makers of Campbell's Soup join Orson Welles in inviting you to be with us in the Campbell Playhouse again next Sunday, when we bring you Edna Ferber's Come and Get It, with Miss Frances D as our guest. Meanwhile, if you have enjoyed our 5th annual presentation of A Christmas Carol, won't you tell your grocer, tell him this week that you enjoyed this production, and order your Campbell Soups. This is Ernest Chappelle saying thank you and a very Merry Christmas to all. The Mercury Theater adaptation of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol has been presented by RG Productions. Today's show is directed by Nita Hunter. And starred Tony Isolde, Ed Godula, Philip Yeager, Jay Rattle, Amy Louise Tyler, Scott Anila, Leslie Utek, Lori Russ, Candy Helson, Jane Myers, Amanda Billerbeck, Grace Nelson. Also featured our live sound effects artists Candy Helson and Brad Bliss. Our organist, Morgan Hunter. Audio engineer, Rick Haggerty. Special thanks to Ralph Pirro for filming this presentation for Kenosha Community Media, local cable access, Channel 14. A special thanks to not only you for watching, but to the Kenosha Public Museums for allowing us to perform this production. For more information, visit us at www.rgaudioproductions.com. I'm your announcer, Dan Stucca. We're all... So you stand if you want. We're going to sing a group harmony, right? And we're going to lead us off with We Wish You a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Wherever you are, good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year. Wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Give yourself a hand.